Welcome back to Fault Lines on Radio Sputnik. My name is Jamarl Thomas. I'm joined with my co-host Shane Stranahan, coming to you live out of our station in Washington, D.C. If you guys live in the area, you can catch us on radio at 105.5 FM and 1390 AM. We're also in Kansas City at 102.9 FM and 104.7 FM. If you guys are digging what Shane and I are putting down, whatever platform you're consuming this content on, give us a like and share that audio or video. If you want to join in on the conversation, you can do so with a chat, a tweet, and of course, you can reach us by phone at 202-521-1320. That is 202-521-1320. Your engagement helps makes this show what it is, so definitely don't be shy. When Project Blue Book initially came out, that was the first foray into discovering and exploring the subject of UFOs. This was going to be the report that gives it to the public, that gives it straight. That report did not give it straight. In fact, that report did the opposite of giving it straight. The entire point of that report was to basically say, it's all swamp gas, it's all meteor rocks, it's all stars that are shining with gravitational lensing that's making people believe that they're seeing aliens. No such thing. The catch is that many of the critics who were critics of the UFO phenomena, especially one in particular, Hynek, who was basically with the Blue Book, Project Blue Book, came with a different assessment. Even though he initially was critical of the UFO subject, he eventually came around and says, look, some of this stuff can't be explained with normal occurrences. And not just that, that the government and many of the people who were involved in the project were doing the project were incompetent or were doing it with the explicit aim of shooing the subject away. It wasn't a real investigation. It wasn't an earnest report in a way that a report would be written on a subject like this. So what about now? You've had multiple videos come out. You've had the New York Times release a massive groundbreaking article on the subject going in the background of ATIP, Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. That came out of another program called ALSAP, All Swap or something to that effect. It's like AWSP, something to that effect. But I guess the point I'm trying to make here is you've had a lot of people expose and come out saying, I was part of this. I saw this. You've had Fravor. You've had the Nimitz. You've had the Tic Tac. You've had the Go Fast, the gimbal or whatever those things are called. You've had all of these ships recording data. You've had Marco Rubio come out. You've had DNI, Director of National Intelligence, Ratcliffe, come out saying, yes, there's loads of evidence. You had Obama come out saying, yes, there was stuff that we couldn't explain. And Obama is interesting because when Obama was asked this as president, Obama was mum. I can't disclose. I'm not going to talk about it, et cetera, et cetera. But now Obama, yes, there are things in our skies that we didn't know what they were, that didn't have or conform to the typical flying physics that we would be aware of. Now, Obama knew this when he was president. Obama wasn't briefed 3 days ago. Obama was briefed when he was president. He knew. He knew. He just didn't say. Joe Biden is asked. Joe Biden blows it off. Jen Psaki is asked. She says the report is coming up. But the problem is you can't walk it back. Elizondo, who has been giving a ton of interviews all over the place, 60 Minutes, ABC News, all of these guys are coming out saying, yes, there's a they are there. You're seeing the faces of pallets, not a report that was written by some random general somewhere that says, no, you're seeing individuals come out. You're seeing data come out. How do you walk that back? That's the question. And the answer is you can't walk all of that back. And you would seem a bit silly trying to do so. The New York Times gets a scoop. And the scoop basically gives them a heads up on what's going to be in the report before the report comes out. The article, or the title of this article, is atrocious. U.S. finds no evidence of alien technology and flying objects, but can't rule it out either. What? It finds no evidence of it, but it can't rule it out. So you're saying that it could be it? That's a weird title, New York Times. Boo on you for that title. First point. Daily Caller did a far better job of the title. What the article basically gets into, when you read the article is actually pretty phenomenal. It's not so much that the article is saying anything groundbreaking, it's what it's not saying. And what it's not saying is, it's not aliens, and that's a weird way of saying it. My point is, what it's not saying, or what it's not doing is saying, we're ruling this out. They can't rule it out. Not just can't rule it out. If you're looking around the world, and you're listening to the descriptions of the pallets, and not just the descriptions of the pallets, there were 120 different items, or more than 120 incidents over the past 2 decades that they were basically looking at. They said, one, it's not us. meaning it's not the American military. The report determines that a vast majority of the more than 120 incidents over the past 2 decades did not originate from American military or other advanced U.S. government technology, the officials said. Well, would they own up to that? Would they ever come out and say, hey, a lot of the stuff that we were seeing in the sky was secret American tech? That's what it was. So no, I have no expectation that they would ever say, own up to that one, honestly. So yes, on some level, I think this stuff still could be also some level. But the other part is more interesting as they get further into it. But let's take that on an overt level. Let's take that overtly. They're saying it's not us. It's not us. It's not U.S. secret tech. Nothing like that. You're left with 2 other options. It's either China, Russia, or it's not from this globe. The report definitely comes out and says they believe that some of the tech that they've been seeing within the 120 incidents were China and Russia experiencing or working with or experimenting with advanced technology. So that part is there. But it's the other part. If you know some of those are, and you are declaring completely that it's not us, it's not us, it's not us, you're left with 2 other options. It's either China or Russia, or it's alien. Make your choice. Now, the rub here is the report cannot exclude either of those. That's the interesting part. I know some people are going to say, hey, this report didn't say anything, but the report is. And if you look back to Project Blue Book had a very explicit interest. This report has a different interest, it has a different goal. And the information that was put out by the various people made it, impossible to back away. Meaning, even though the report is not saying, we're being visited by aliens, the report was never going to say that. If anything, the report is saying, we don't know. That may not be true, but at the very least, the report cannot poo-poo away the idea that this planet may be visited. And again, I would point out to you that you need to choose wisely which one you may prefer. If it is not us, and if China and Russia have developed advanced systems in the way that these systems are being described, and the military personnel in the Navy, they were concerned. In some of the cases or some of the incidents, there was almost near hits where one of the craft almost hit one of our craft. You have Navy ships that are reporting these things. In one case, they're reporting these things for like a year. Yeah, this is real. There's a there. It's either us or it's not. And we need to determine which. And this report that is coming out is basically just left as many questions was there before as a report. Meaning the report is only basically saying, yes, there's a there. And no, we don't know what it is, but yes, there's a there to it. By the way, Lou Elizondo kind of made this point about saying, look, we need to continue pushing on this issue. And he even talked about running for Congress in order to try to push open the issues of secrecy. He is have a IG complaint against the Department of Defense saying that the Department of Defense knows more than what they say they know, that they're lying about what they know, and on top of that, that they're trying to undermine him during this process. It is unclear what this is going to turn out to be. It is unclear whether the IG report and the complaint actually pulls out additional information. What we're left with, however, are just questions. If it's not us, which is what the report is clearly saying, like if nothing else, it's not us, it's not our tech. China, Russia, or UFOs? Which one is it? Interesting report, Shane. And we haven't even seen the entire report yet. This is just the New York Times reporting on it. But they're definitely saying it concedes that the phenomena remains difficult to explain. They can't explain the acceleration. They can't explain the ability to change direction against the wind without any kind of surfaces. They can't explain the ability to go through water or at the phenomenal speeds that it was going. And yeah, they say, yeah, we do believe that China and Russia are working on hypersonic technology. By the same token, we don't know if that's this. And if it is China and Russia, oh my God, that was the way they were thinking about it. So what are your thoughts? I mean, it's an interesting thing. I mean, I'm waiting for the final report. I want to see the report. There's a classified annex to the report. Why is there a classified annex to the report? Like, that's what I mean. Like, you're telling us, all right, we don't know what this is. That's what the report says. We don't know what this is. We think it could be us and it's not. Okay, we knew that going in. If that makes sense. Like, so it's like, I like the fact that they're analyzing it, and I like the fact that they have a report. And I like the fact that the report clearly says it is not us as an American. It's not our tech. I don't buy that, but fair enough. That's what they're saying on the. They are saying they believe Russia and China are using hypersonic tech. But what does that mean? Like, are we saying that we've been leapfrogged technologically? Because we're saying it's not us, but it could be China and Russia or aliens. What does that mean? We spend $1 trillion on the military. What are they talking about? I hope you understand what I'm saying here. If we're saying that it's not us, all right, so we're going to take the U.S. military off the table. That means it's China, Russia, or aliens. That means that we have either been leapfrogged by China and Russia technologically in regards to the amount of money that we've been spending, which is a
spectacular.
Yeah, that's like explosive by itself on its face. Or it's not us. And the report, if nothing else, makes that part clear, which is, you could say, a move of the ball, or in some respects. What are your thoughts about this? I mean, the report definitely makes clear that there's a there there, though.
Or it's not us, but it's like DARPA, or it's,
right.
It's any number
but see, they're saying it's not.
Well, but how the hell are we supposed? I mean, DARPA, it seems, is a little bit more open than some of the other truly backdoor programs, because at least DARPA has like a website that you can go and check out. Okay, here are their official initiatives. These are the things.
Yeah, but some of the black budget stuff you don't even know exists. It's unacknowledged
exactly
access. Like the president can say, "Hey, what do you know about this?" And this is, what are you talking about, Mr. President?
The left hand has no idea what the right hand is doing, and you've got the Pentagon who has no idea what some CIA department is doing. Not that the CIA is even necessarily the organization that would be doing this.
Yeah.
Again, DARPA, something like that seems more likely to me because they are the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. That's their job. It's the kind of exact thing that they would do. Anyway, yeah, this is about what you would expect, which doesn't mean that it's any less exciting than it actually is. It's kind of cool, I guess.
Because they legitimized it.
I'll try to be pretty quick here.
Yeah,
they've legitimized it. This is what you would expect in the sense that you wouldn't expect them to come out and say, "It's us, it's all us. This is all." It'd be a weird thing for the government to approve itself doing.
That craft that was going 30,000 miles an hour.
All this uncertainty over these decades, it's been us. It's all been us. It's the kind of confession you just wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
You would expect them to put it on Russia and China, frankly, at least partly, because it's very plausible. It just makes sense. We've talked about this before on the air. A lot of the craft have been seen around U.S. naval groups.
Yes.
And that is the kind of thing that if you were Russia or China, you would want to understand. You'd want to know what tech we have, the kind of maneuvers we're doing, what we're preparing for from a Marshall sense, from
and we know that Russia was working with hypersonic technology, so even that's not shocking per se.
Yeah, no, but then here's and then of course what's left over from that is a big question mark, which kind of falls into the category of alien. But the other thing that I'm a little bit worried about now that I've sort of summed up why this is to be expected, is that this will be, they'll say, okay, a lot of this stuff is Russia and China. We don't know what the rest of it is.
Yeah.
But we'll focus on the parts of it that are Russia and China and sort of not forget, but just sort of put to the side.
Yeah.
Okay, but what else is there? One. What else is there? What are the aliens? We'll see what actually happens.
It's because people are acclimated to Russia and China. They're not acclimated to a report that basically is saying, we don't know what this is.
I don't know if we are acclimated to Russia and China.
You don't think so? You think so?
I think that we're still afraid of Russia and China. I think that the media has successfully made us very afraid of an outright military conflict with Russia and increasingly with China.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what they do. It's like, if you look at the bottom line, that's a lot of the time is spent trying to convince us to be afraid of Russia and China. Yeah, I mean, this is just war propaganda. We're fish swimming in water. You live in a society that's going to be propagandized, and a lot of the nature of that propaganda is going to be foreign policy stuff, where it's like, okay, this is what we want you to think about this other nation that we're on a war footing with, potentially, that kind of thing. So that's par for the course. But yeah, I guess I'm a little bit worried that the actual possibility of this being aliens, which seems plausible, if not likely,
like I said,
that's going to get left at the wayside.
One way or the other, they have a lot to explain. And I think the reason I don't think it gets pushed to the wayside is because so much of this report was based on this notion of aliens. Like, that was the whole point of the report. Like, okay, what are these craft? And everybody, when they say UFOs, they mean basically it's an aliens. And because the emphasis was so much, I mean, think about the last 3 months. I mean, you've had 60 Minutes, CBS, Morning Joe, you've had the New York Times, Washington. Yeah, all of these institutions, CNN, the works.
But that energy could just be parkoured into
something else.
Agitation against China and Russia, but mostly China, probably.
I don't know. I mean, I just think they have a lot to explain. If they come out and say that we've been leapfrogged technologically in this kind of like radical way,
well, then what does that justify?
What in the world? I mean, yeah, what does it justify? But also,
let's spend a lot
consequences?
More. Yeah, well, yeah, the consequences for sure. But let's spend a lot more money on our military tech. That's what comes out of that.
Well, see, that comes out of it regardless. whether it was UFOs or whether it was Russian.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like one way or the other. Like, because if they say, oh, there's aliens visiting our planet, oh, we need to secure our airspace. We need to spend X amount more money. And even to the point of saying, we got to go into break. But do you think that
holding up Ted,
if they came out and said, yes, it's not us, that it creates a one world incentive? Because are you really going to deal with exoplanetary stuff as the United States?
Yes.
Wait, yes to which one?
The second one.
Really? You
think
so?
I do not think
the U.S. would be like, all right, we're just going to go it alone?
Well, no, we're not going to go it completely alone, but we're going to deal with it nationally. In the same way that colonization didn't suddenly bring together the old world into like, okay, we're discovering these new frontiers. There are unknown terrors and possibilities and opportunities. Let's rally around the core of our humanity and go out into the Teros, not the cosmos, and colonize anew or whatever. No, we didn't do that. What it led to was colonial wars, and of course, the technological forces that we were confronted with on the other side of the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, and in the heart of Africa, and all these colonial territories. It's not aliens. It was far lesser than the Western colonizers' ability to kill them. So in some sense, no, we're in a completely different situation with aliens. But I don't see that.
I think this planet becomes a one-world government the moment that the alien thing is established.
How much you want to bet? I'll bet you my two-world government.
Two-world government?
Three-world government.
The reason I said it is because I don't think it's like a United Nations. You're going to need something. You're dealing with another planet. You're not dealing with another country.
I don't doubt there will be paltry attempts to unify humanity. I just think they will be paltry.
You think they will fail? Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to have to see who wins this
things. Yeah, the things that are pulling us apart are stronger than the things that are keeping us together by and large, which is maybe a good thing, but I understand why some people don't like it. Anyway, you guys are listening to Fault Lines with Thomas and Stranahan. We're going into a break and coming back with Ted Rall. Be right back.